So if you saw the front page of every major newspaper in the UK today, including, unbelievably, the Daily Mail and the Daily Express, you'd think that yesterday's far-left protests were simply a haven of peace. And this is why you cannot trust the MSM and why we must fight back against the censorship this authoritarian Labour government wants to institute. Because thanks to Elon Musk's X, we now know what was really being said and done at these so-called peace marches.
They hurt. We've got children and women using those trains, destroying the summer holidays. They are disgusting, nasty factors, and we need to cut all their throats and get rid of them all. I just want to say thank you all. I'm going to leave it now. And free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Thank you. God bless you all.
And shock horror, that man, the man advocating to cut the throats of people who disagrees with, is an elected Labour Party councillor in Dartford. But that incident didn't stop BBC reporter Henry Lowe enthusing that the event in Walthamstow was full of chanting and clapping as folk were preaching a message of peace. Well, I call bullshit on that. Because breaking right now, Jones has been arrested by the Met Police, clearly desperate to prove we are not operating in a two-tier world. As Reform UK MP Rupert Lowe wrote on X, if an elected Reform politician had been calling for throats to be cut, the condemnation would be rightly overwhelming. I'm sure hundreds of Labour MPs are currently drafting their statements calling out this disgusting behaviour. Personally, I don't want to live in a country where anyone is arrested for making a bad comment or for retweeting some footage of a protest or reporting what they may have heard online. This is not the sort of world we want to live in. But there was much more from the so-called peace protest last night. Don't they look peaceful? So peaceful, so much harmony there. Likewise, in Croydon, where authorities wanted to do all they could to distance the egregious violence with any protests. As the brilliant independent journalist Andy No posted, this is not linked to a protest, claims the police in London, as Muslim Patrol militants riot in Croydon following false rumours of far-right protests. They are trashing the streets of Croydon tonight in South London, he said. And yes, they were. Just awful.
Why are they trashing the place? This is the only place in England today I've seen getting trashed. What is going on? Why are they trashing the...
But as political commentator Alex Armstrong wrote, when the far left attack emergency workers, it's anti-social behaviour. Two-tier gaslighting is in full swing. What's probably more important is to work out why the hell the MSM and political establishment spent 48 hours gaslighting the nation into believing mass far-right protests were about to break out anyway, which saw businesses closed and homes boarded up, and then nothing eventuated. Sly News was actually disappointed.
So far, the counter-protesters are by far outnumbering, well, I say outnumbering, I mean there's no evidence yet that our teams on the ground have seen of any far-right activity. So the counter-protesters have got no protests to counter at the moment.
But it was left to that cretinous Nick Lowles from the very hateful organisation, ironically titled Hope Not Hate, to reveal what was really going on. He wrote, yes, the list, which was a list of fake far-right protests, was a hoax. But just look at the front pages of today's paper. An anti-racist message has been transmitted to millions of homes this morning. The media, the MSM, has been played, and I won't be played. So I want to share you a very thoughtful tweet, actually, from the former Brexit Party MEP Martin Daubney. And he wrote, "Who sent the Telegram riot message? Last night, thousands of counter-protesters took to the streets. There were no protests to counter, based on anonymous Telegram message saying immigration lawyers and asylum charities would be targeted. Who sent the message and why? Because none of the 100 riots happened. No immigration officers were targeted. Millions were spent on policing these non-events. So who sent the message? It may have been the far right, quote unquote. It may have been someone opposed to the quote unquote far right. It may have been a troll. Until we know the answer to this, the conspiracy theories will run rife. I'd like to see the same rigour applied to tracking down the misinformation that caused the Southport riot. Who sent the message that put Britain on red alert? But do I believe the MSM will investigate? Absolutely not. It doesn't fit their narrative. We are being gaslit. As Tom Harris posted on X, this focus on Elon Musk and social media in the midst of widespread rioting reminds me of when Lee Rigby was murdered by Islamists and MPs queued up to warn against the threat of Islamophobia. And Fraser Myers from Spiked Online added, or when David Ames was murdered by an Islamist and MPs tried to make the entire focus about people being rude to them on the internet. And when Slippery Starmer was asked today about whether immigration could even be discussed, he wouldn't even entertain it, instead continuing with his authoritarian rhetoric.
If we have indeed turned a corner and seen an end to the violence, is now the time to engage with the underlying tensions that are in communities over the issue of immigration?
The first priority is safety and security of our communities. And yes, last night was much better than was expected. But we are not going to give up on our efforts here. That's why it's very important that I continue my discussions, coordinating with law enforcement, with police leaders, to make sure we've got the right officers in the right place, to keep pushing on the criminal justice response. I was very keen that we're able to demonstrate that if you're involved in disorder, within days you'll be in the criminal justice system, and some people starting long terms of imprisonment. That needs to continue, and so that is my sole focus.
The Woke Stasi, as Elon Musk has described it, is now running the UK. Police are arresting folk for sending a tweet. This is terrifying. Thank you so much for watching. Dan Wootton, Outspoken. Please do subscribe if you want lots more clips and interviews like that. Plus, if you want to watch our totally uncensored after show, then visit www.outspoken.live.